Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Hazel Adams. Thank you for joining me today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. So glad to see you again. I don't have a lot of time to record today, but I did want to jump on and sort of touch base with you all about what's going on in the world, what we're seeing, what we may see going forward, and how much creative empowerment we have to interact with and create what we see going on in the world. Before I go on, just a gentle reminder, if this video is helpful to you and you want to see more of this content from me, please remember to click like, subscribe to the channel, turn notification bells on so you don't miss any videos. It helps other people find this video in my channel, and it's encouraging to me to continue to make these videos for you. So I'll start by saying I haven't done a video for you in a couple of weeks, and I haven't been recording, what's going on and what's likely to happen, because I haven't been closely following what's going on in the world, and there are two reasons for that. In the first place, all possibilities are going on. We're in the quantum vacuum field of probability. All possible scenarios and storylines and versions of storylines are active in the collective energies right now. Yes, some are more lit up, more probable than others, but they're all there. They're all at play. We are at the point energetically where we are individually and collectively starting to really strongly resonate along certain timelines. I want to emphasize to you that we are all going to experience our own individual versions of what's going on, our own individual timelines. And yes, there are going to be major overlaps, like most of us on the planet, not all, but most of us will agree that there's a war going on between Iran and Israel and the US, that kind of thing. And many of us are inhabiting a timeline in which the whole world financial system is being upset and reset. But within that, there are so many possible storylines and timelines and versions of how we'll experience those things going on. And again, that's for each of us. I want to emphasize that out of all of these probabilities, possibilities of things going on and versions of the things going on, that we will experience the versions and the events that exactly resonate, vibrate as a match to our vibration. In other words, what each of us individually need to experience and become aware of so that we can release what is not authentic to our soul's truth. You can almost think of it as sort of a stop action animation. All of these things are going on, timelines going on. You're going to ping to the points of the timeline and along the timeline that exactly resonate with what you need to see and learn to free yourself into your true authentic self, living your true authentic life that we're built to be able to live here, which is a much higher probable version of the human species without the fear, control, domination, conflict, adversarial paradigm that we've been experiencing. There's a whole other upgraded level where it's cooperation, abundance, synchronicity, unity in the way that there's no conflict against control, domination over. It's just this loving, cooperative, synchronous way of living with complete abundance. There's a whole upgraded level of us. It's an actual higher probable version of our DNA, and we are morphing into that as we speak. So I got off a little bit on a tangent there. I haven't really been focused on what's going on in the world and predictions because I don't want to be focused there, because I know I'm creating my own. And what I don't want to do, very honestly, is become entranced, like start clicking and hearing all of these stories and becoming entranced and going right down the rabbit hole. That's a lower vibrational level. I do lightly check here and there just to see some of the things that are appearing in my version of the timeline, in my version of reality. So I will just lightly check here and there. So I'll just touch base with you here about a couple of the things we're seeing going on, why we're seeing them, and even revisit a couple of things I shared with you in previous videos about what I did see going forward, sort of, predictions, although I don't like that word. First of all, as I don't know if it was the Arcturians or the creators, as channeled through Daniel Scranton, said in one of their recent messages, we're seeing all this turbulence and strife and struggle because it's showing us that it doesn't feel good, that that's not where we want to be. We don't want to be in these situations of war and conflict and attacking people and destroying their culture and their country and all of those things, that's not what we want. So all of this awfulness that we're seeing and to some extent experiencing, depending on who you are, where you are, is really to show us what doesn't feel good and authentic, and this is where we want to be. It's helping us to clarify what isn't working for us anymore. Seth had said in one of the Seth books that hatred of war will not bring peace. Positive love of peace will bring peace. And we will have peace when young men refuse to pick up arms and go to war. Well, right now, conscientious objector requests are up 1,000%. A lot more young men and women are refusing to get involved in this Iran conflict. And the uptick in those requests started right after that the little girls' school was bombed, where 170 people were killed. This kind of stuff is not what we want anymore. More and more, it's not the version of reality that most of us care to inhabit. With the current U.S. administration and the administration in Israel and Russia, you very much still have a strong male energy, as in the masculine energy principle, dominating and taking over, running over the top of the feminine energy principle. The masculine energy principle is to do, to realize, and in its positive form, properly balanced with the feminine, it's creative. However, if it gets out of balance and it's taken over, that's where you get into force, domination, control. Interestingly, right before the presidential election, Bashar said, if the female wins, ET contact will happen much earlier. If the male wins, there will be World War III. And later, after the election, he clarified he wasn't talking about specifically Trump or Kamala. He was talking about the energy, the male-dominated energy or the female energy. The male-dominated energy without the female energy underneath it can become very aggressive, and of course that's what we're seeing. With the aggression and the force and the lack of compassion, the lack of unity, the lack of empathy, that power control thing that is really so evident in the current U.S. administration. It's also very much the energy of Netanyahu and Israel right now, and of course Putin in Russia. So we are experiencing our world with that male, masculine dominated, aggressive energy. And we can see, as Bashar said, what's going on. We essentially have World War III. Also, interesting to me is before I saw any of those predictions from Bashar, I looked into the energy of if Trump wins, if Harris wins. And I don't think I ever shared this with anybody beside my husband, just sitting drinking our morning coffee. But when I looked at Trump winning versus Harris winning, I saw fires representing conflict, war, battles. I saw little fires all over the world map in that hemisphere with Europe and Asia and the Middle East. Not so much in the U.S., Canada, South America hemisphere. But I saw that, and then of course Bashar said what he said about it would be World War III. And of course now everybody is either in a conflict, getting ready to enter a conflict, preparing their military for possible conflict going forward. So yeah, here we are. But again, it's helping us all to see what we don't want to live in and create anymore. And things are changing right now. I had said in a video of 2026 predictions a month or two ago that I didn't see Trump lasting beyond March. And right now, I don't honestly know if he is or isn't going to be here come April. But what I do know is that the energy is changing. You do have this 1,000% uptick in conscientious objector requests. You have more and more judges and even Congress starting a little bit to stand up to Donald Trump and speak up to say, no, we're not going to give you $200 billion more dollars to fund more war. And evidently, you have Trump in private with his cabinet telling them to pull back on the mass deportation thing, that's not going so well. It's not good for him politically. You have quite a few previously loyal MAGA podcasters and speakers speaking against what Trump is doing. And you see things cracking up in that simultaneously, while sending more troops over to Iran, Trump is also saying now 6 or 7 times, we already won the war. So things are chaotic and not going well for Trump. There are all kinds of hearings going on, cabinet member problems and criminal indictments, and the Trump administration losing cases in court and being found unconstitutional, and the tariffs weren't constitutional. Things aren't going well. And there's an astrologer who predicted this. And let me back up and preface what I'm about to say. I haven't been watching almost any of the astrology for the reasons I already said. I don't need to go off on anybody else's timelines and predictions. I can feel and see the energy that's going on. I know the feeling of the timeline that I'm interested in vibrating with, and that is what I focus on. Having said that, there are 2 or 3 astrologers that, if I am interested in seeing the planetary reflection of what's going on with our collective reality, they're the ones I might click on. And so there's the World Astrology Report. There is, of course, Pam Gregory, and the one that I was just mentioning, I think of him as the little Italian guy. I don't know if he's Italian, but he has the most delightful accent, and he looks like he's slight built. That's why I call him the little Italian guy. But he's an excellent astrologer, and he particularly focuses on the astrology as it hits Trump's chart. And he has been saying now for several months, things are not going to go well at all for Donald Trump for this whole first part of 2026. And he gives all the astrological reasons and aspects as they touch Trump's chart. That particular channel, you might really want to check him out, actually. It's Proactive Astrology. And if you do check him out, he'll show you very clearly in all the recent last month or 2 postings he's done why, astrologically speaking, pretty much everything Trump is touching is turning to you know what. Now, having said that, I want to bring something to your attention that's really important. When you're watching astrologers, they're talking about the energies of our collective consciousness that are being reflected in the heavens. The heavens sort of give us an outward roadmap to show us sort of where we are collectively. The heavens don't make it happen. They're reflecting, they're showing us. They're almost more like a mirror. But the thing to remember at all times is you are creating your own individual reality. You are using and experiencing those energies in your individualized way, and you are creating your world that you inhabit and experience in your individual individual way. I am not kidding when I say that each of us is creating our own version of the world. And then, of course, there's lots of overlap so that it looks, we think we're inhabiting the exact same version of the world. We aren't. We're each inhabiting our own version. It's almost like we're all a bunch of sort of individuals with our own individual reality worlds in Venn diagrams. It's like we're a big web of Venn diagrams. And of course, there are many major components that most of us agree on. So when astrologers talk about the energies, and even for, they'll have videos that say, Pisces, this is you this month, or Aries, this is what you can be looking for this month. Yes, those energies that are being seen in the heavens reflect energies that you and I are working with collectively, individually, but we still use and apply them and experience them in a very individual way. And let me give you just a very simple, concrete, on-the-ground example of this. About a year or 2 ago, my husband and I were in the process of doing something called a street vacate. There was an easement of about 20 feet wide between our house and the neighbor's house. And there was nothing on that easement. It was just, grass and trees and woods. The easement had been platted into this whole area, neighborhood, back in the late 1800s, and it had been platted to be a road going through between our two houses. Well, it was never developed. It was never bulldozed out and turned into a road. Nonetheless, the county still held that land as an easement. And my husband and I decided we didn't really want the chance of anybody ever running a road right by my house, right out my window here between our house and the neighbor's house. So we initiated something called a street vacate, which where I live in Florida is where you initiate a transfer of that easement property to your private title, and you split it between the two neighbors. So we were in the process of that, and the point with it is it costs some money. We had to hire surveyors, we had to pay fees to the county to even do this. It was something like $2,500 that it cost us to have that easement split up and made to where no one can ever run a road right by my house. So at the time, I was sort of strapped for cash because we'd been laying out that money for all of that. The neighbor next door had said he would pay half of it because he was getting half of that easement property. He was getting 10 feet of that easement property. But he wasn't going to pay that until we had gotten the thing done and it had gone through and been approved and it really was our properties. So I was a little strapped for cash. And at the time, I was in need of literally a couple new pairs of shorts or capri pants and a couple of new shirts. Just my wardrobe was getting pretty sad. And I really didn't feel like I had the extra money to be spending on that. Right at the same time, multiple videos started showing up on my YouTube page for Pisces. You're going to have the most amazing month. You're getting ready to come into a fortune. You're going to be inheriting money. And they just kept showing up. I'm Pisces. And it was just one after the other, all talking about how this was going to be such a prosperous financial month. One astrologer said, oh, you're going to have so much wealth. You're going to just be able to buy all the clothes that you want. And so I thought, oh, okay, that's really cool. They're all saying that. Obviously, there's a prosperity energy in my chart for this month. And do you know that month, just a week or so later, is exactly when all the approvals came through. We got all the notices we need. The neighbor next door paid his half of the money, whatever it was, $1,000, $1,200 or $1,300, which isn't a fortune. It's not a lot of money, but it sure was way more than I needed to just buy the few tops and pairs of shorts and capri pants that I needed. So my fortune, my great wealth, was that little $1,000 or $1,200 or so. Someone else may have experienced a huge windfall, an inheritance, a lottery win. So the energy was there for abundant money that you need to satisfy what you need and want coming in. But all of us Pisces got to experience that financial abundance, that windfall, in our own individualized way. You see, the energy was there, but it's taken and used as it individually applies to everybody. So that's a long way for me to say, whenever you're listening to predictions or astrologers, make sure you understand that there's no one way it's going to look or has to play out in your world, your reality that you're creating, and or in your own individual life. Yes, there's a revolutionary energy going on for the whole first half of maybe into the 2030 or 32, according to World Astrology Report. That doesn't mean that everybody all over the planet is in revolution and taking up arms. Revolution can be, no, we're not taking up arms. No, we're not being ruled by the oligarchs anymore. We're over this. I mean, there are so many ways for energies to play out. And that's something I'd really like you to take away from today. That at all times, no matter what, we are each always creating our own reality, and our reality includes the world we are projecting and experiencing. And parts of it will match what other parts of the collective are experiencing, and parts of it won't. That's why you see so many examples of the Mandela effect. Everybody didn't experience the same past. Everybody hasn't experienced the same reality. And we're going to have more than one version of who we are as a species and how we got here and how the transition happened. That's okay. We are each the universal source consciousness constructing and experiencing our unique reality. And quickly, before you go, I've scheduled a group healing and transformational session for next Saturday, March 28th, 2026 at noon. I'll do that via Zoom. These last no longer than 20 or 30 minutes, and they are a group transformational healing session in which I work with the morphic field created by the collective of the people that are present or have registered for it. And we make direct energetic changes that everybody takes and uses in their own way to benefit themselves. I call them lights sessions. I don't do them real often, but lights stands for live intensive group healing and transformation session. If you'd like to know more and maybe register for that, just go to my website, kathyhazeladams.com, and click on the classes and webinars tab and scroll down to lights, Lights. And I'll remind you and invite you to join me. I do a live group spirit talk on the first Sunday of every month. It is an ongoing conscious co-creation, awakening, ascension workshop. That's what it is. They last an hour and they're a wonderful opportunity to spend time with others of like vibration. And I do a live energy guided meditation on the third Sunday of every month. You can learn more about those on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Kathy Hazel Adams Quantum Spirit. So I hope to see you at one or all of these events. Thank you again for joining me today. Have a blessed and magical weekend.